Contract Scotland and demystifying how you use that. I'm delighted to welcome along Barry Dale from the Scottish Government Procurement Reform Team to talk about the session. We're also going to do, after we've done the presentation, myself and Diane Beattie from Murray Council, more than welcome to join as well. We're going to have a little bit of panel session so we can do a Q&A. So if you've got any pressing questions about using Public Contract Scotland, about the tender process, more than delighted to have that conversation with you. So, Barry, I'll let you take over.
Right, I can't speak, sorry. I speak to too many people through there, so apologies. Give me a second. You might not be able to see that very well. So, Public Contract Scotland. Does everyone know what it is? Yeah. Are you all registered? Okay, great. We can go in. That's a quick one. So I don't really need to go through this slide, but obviously, a bit about Public Contract Scotland. All regulated procurements above £50,000 need to be advertised on the site. So all public sector bodies have to use Public Contract Scotland to do that. Anything below £50,000, they're encouraged to use it for advertising purposes, or indeed to use for the quick quote process, which you may have heard of, which is best practice is to encourage people to go through and speak to suppliers and contact them through the sort of site as well. Also got the ability to put subcontract opportunities on there, so you do tend to find that if a main contractor has won at tier 1 level, they are encouraged through the contract to publish their sort of subcontract opportunities on there. And we also require people to put contract awards on within the legislative period. So it's a place to find the contract awards as well. In terms of the actual system, that's the sort of website details. You're already there, so you know what you're doing with the site and where to go to find it. But I think in terms of what Gillian was saying, just sort of demystifying the site, don't know if we'll be able to do that today, but I'm hopefully able to offer a couple of sort of hints and tips of what you can and can't do with sort of PCS itself. So the website itself, when you're in and you're registering on Public Contract Scotland, you've got the opportunity to put some basic information in. You've also got the opportunity to go in to your supplier registration and fill in some additional fields. You can fill in your alert profile and your Supplier Finder profile, which I'm hoping people have done that. If you haven't, that's one of the key areas I would like to sort of speak to you about in terms of the registration process. Quick quotes are on there as well, so that's why you would want to be making sure your Supplier Finder profile is up to date and you've got as much information in there as possible. I appreciate it's only a text box, so you don't get the ability to put a lot of information in, but if that's turned on, that's where public sector buyers will potentially come looking. Public sector buyers will get an opportunity within the system to search for people via the Supplier Finder profile, and potentially for the sort of lower value procurements, they will use that part of the system to do that.
You get anything else about that is where we go.
Yeah, so that is key. I think it's something, when we look at it, there's about 65,000 suppliers registered and probably less than half have got the Supplier Finder profile box ticked. Maybe telling a bad thing here because you're
in your profile.
Yeah.
It's in your profile, but it's in a separate section of your profile. If you scroll down, there's a bit for Supplier Finder. So there is some guidance on the system. I've got kind of on the slide pack. I'm assuming that the slide's gone out. Yeah. So when the slides go out, you'll see where that sort of information is available. There's also a couple of sort of help guides. We recently have created videos that will take you through the process of your Supplier Finder and your alert profile. So yeah, Supplier Finder profile is key, I think, for making sure that's updated to allow, as we're saying there, buyers to find you on the site. I appreciate it doesn't give a lot of space to put in your brochures and things, but it lets you put a bit of more information about your organisation in. That's where it's a sort of enhanced profile. In terms of where you'll find it, when you log into the site, I know it's not great, but in the My Profile section, you'll see Supplier Finder profile down the bottom of that sort of bit there. So that's the place to find it. So you click on that, and it'll take you into this screen here. Okay, so it'll give you a bit of information about what Supplier Finder is, how does it work. You can probably just to put that slide up, you wouldn't have had to hear me there for a wee while. But that will give you that sort of information of what you do, and it makes sure you set your status to publish. See, anyone come in?
Sorry.
Yep, that's okay. You've missed all the good bits, so.
No, there's plenty
More to come, sorry. Okay, sorry. So this basically is what's on the site, and it tells you just a bit about it. Make sure you press publish and save. If you don't, then you won't find it. You've got the ability at any point to unpublish your details as well, and you make sure you regularly save your work. What it comprises keywords, specifically highlight the products or services, things like that, things that you think a buyer may want to find out about you and what they might be coming to look for. Once you've been through that, you've got save, review, and save down the bottom. So that's where you've basically go through that, and that is what you're filling in. Say, a bit of information more about your company, email address, telephone, regions where you'd be looking to do business, bit about your company, bit about description, the sort of keywords, but 6 keywords you can put in there that just sort of give a bit more description of what your organisation provides. Got the ability to put a logo in there as well, and there's a wee tick box down at the bottom, which is pretty important in terms of if you're an SME or not.
Does that do PNGs?
Sorry?
Does that do PNGs?
I think it does, yeah, I need to double check that. And as I say, the bit down the bottom is just the bit to identify you being an SME as well. Further guidance is available in the information and help area. So when you log into Public Contracts Scotland, which you'll all be experts in, on the top right hand side you've got information and help, and there are user guides within that. Within that user guide section there's a user guide itself, just a paper copy, and we've also got a video that was created and published onto the site as well. So, any questions about the Supplier Finder? All okay with that? Yeah. All makes sense. Yeah. It's just an additional piece of the jigsaw and what you can do.
I was just speaking to a supplier. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah,
I was just speaking to a supplier right there. We actually got talking about this, and this is where I find you. So this is your advert. But I would also suggest go into it regularly and update it. If you get any awards, if you're awarded a contract, if you keywords are important to us. You know, if I'm looking for something in particular, I know you're saying there's not an awful lot of space, so make it meaningful.
Yeah.
But also keep it up to date. Because if it's not up to date, then when I'm looking at something that's 3 years old, and you might miss out on something.
Yeah, I think that's key, and I think as well, it's registration's key. Make sure your registration's up to date as well. You'll get an email out every year to basically click on to register and make sure that that's correct.
Can I add another tip
Yeah.
as well? Because it's really, really important. What I often find is folk have registered and they've got their email address on there for getting alerts, but they don't get anything through, because they're relying maybe on one person in the company who may be on holiday, might have left the company or whatever. So the alert may have been sent out, but nobody's actually grabbed it. So I would always suggest doing like an info at the company name, so that more than one person can access. That's really, really key. Otherwise, you know, the alerts come out, but you may not see them if you don't have that correct path to get to you.
Just adding to that, if you've got one named on there, the system doesn't let us as buyers see there's a bounce back. So we don't know if you haven't got that email. So it's really important, I think as Julia says, if you can have a generic email on there, more than one person can see it and can respond to the opportunities.
I think that's key as well, and I think the other thing to look at as well when you're looking at these things is the CPV codes that you select and what you're using, because again, buyers in different authorities may choose a different CPV code for whatever the sort of product or service that they're looking for, and see people nodding here. You just don't know. A buyer might think, well, just speaking to someone a minute ago, they were a painting and decorating company, but a buyer may put on construction for that contract type, and you're totally missing it. So it's maybe having a look and seeing what the CPV codes are and expand on them, put a bit more in there. The other thing I would say for the system as well, you've got the ability to look at previous adverts. If there's business that you've missed out on, or there's contracts that you know have been on there and you've not received any alerts for them, have a look at those previous adverts. Look and see what codes the buyers have used and expand. You may get mails that you don't want, you may get alerts that you don't want. And that way you can then start filtering them out, so you can see where you know what, I'm getting loads of this stuff, but it's not what my core business is. You might get the odd one that will come through that you think you know what it is. So it's another key to just that is looking at the codes that you've sort of registered under as well. I don't have a video about that bit of it, that's just sort of ad hoc, I'm afraid. You also get you might not receive alerts. That's key to what we're saying there. Part of it is making sure you've got those sort of profiles. The other things I would say in terms of sort of a hint and tip about the system, it's not just for sitting and receiving adverts. You can use it for multiple things like market research. You can search free of charge all of the notices that are published. You can search for all of the contract award notices that are published. Look at that. If you're not getting alerts, it might be, yes, what you're providing is not necessarily something that's advertised a lot. It's not something that's looked at. But you could then feed into potentially what those main contractors are winning, what those bigger projects are and what those bigger businesses are getting. You can see what's been put in place. A contract award notice has to go in the system for a regulated procurement. You will get to see who those winning suppliers are. The second bit there is just what we're talking about. It might be your categories will need to be amended. Have a look and see what's there. As we're saying, if there's an advert or an opportunity to advertise, just have a look and see what codes the buyer has used. Make sure, just amend your profile and put that in. It might be the case that events like this are ideal because this is where you come along and speak to the buyers. You need to see if what your product is, if it is something that's looked for in the public sector. Is it there? That's why speaking to buyers. You've got every buying organisation that's registered on PCS. You can search for them in a tab at the top that says search buyers. You can type in their details and you will find potential contact information about those organisations. So that's another place to sort of look and allow you to go and speak to buyers. As I've said, details, make sure they're up to date. Housekeep regularly. The generic email address, and make sure the emails from support at Public Contract Scotland are getting through any firewall you may have in your organisation. That's another thing that will potentially stop it. And the bit there at the bottom, it's important that you renew your registration. It's done on an annual basis. You'll get an email out telling you to renew your registration. That's key to do that and keep your information up to date. So that's sort of hints and tips about not just using the system and doing your Supplier Finder profile. In terms of your alert profile, this is another important part. This is what will set up the notification that will send messages out to you. Again, it's important keeping that up to date. It's not mandatory to use, but it does allow you to respond in a timely manner to any opportunity. Setting up the alert profile is very, very similar. There is an area that I should have covered. It's the second one down in my profile, and that's where the link is to that. Again, this is what it would look like when you go into the system. So you've got your alert profile, you go in through Supplier Control Panel, you select your product categories, you click on Edit Your Product Categories, and you can select geographical locations as well. So that's your sort of two options in there. This is where you go and look at adding your categories and looking at. So again, that's just from the screen, and that's just what you'll find in the guidance notes. How it basically works is once you've set it up, you'll start getting those automatic email alerts. Click on the link within the email and that will take you to the opportunity. If you don't know, this is just again hints and tips of look at published notices, see what they are. We'll just go back to that point again. It's one of the best ways of finding those sort of opportunities. Check what they were, make sure you update them. There is some further guidance again, another short video you can watch as well, and some guidance notes. Again, down the bottom they're important to know that your alert profile is kept up to date as well. It's the same as your subscription. You will get an email to advise you that you need to make sure that alert profile. What we're saying as well, go in and change it if you need to. Make sure you regularly update it. Make sure you look at it when you need to. And that is basically sort of the keys of what we're doing. I'd also want to draw your attention to the annual PCS survey. This is where we're coming asking for your help now. So this is published every year, and what we use in terms of the survey, it comes out late September, early October, so we're in the process of getting that set up to be issued. It seeks the views of suppliers and buyers, so if you're a supplier you will get a separate survey. What we want to know is your thoughts on the Public Contract Scotland system. As long as it's not bad thoughts and you're not moaning at me, that's fine, but yeah, I'm saying nothing, I'm keeping quiet in that one. But we we feed that into an improvement plan. There are things take place. We're limited in what we can do on Public Contract Scotland, the system. We've got a contract for that system and there's only so much we can do. But what we have done in the past, we do try and look at potential changes to the system. The way it looks and feels, that changed a couple of years ago, so it might still look a bit out of date at the moment, but it was far better than it was 3 years ago before we did that sort of work. So things that we have done is that the updated user interface, the help videos, that's what we've started to look at now, is trying to add additional help guidance and videos and things on. That again is something that's came out of the sort of PCS annual survey, where people have asked for additional information and assistance. We've looked at updating user guidance for suppliers. We've started now issuing a quarterly newsletter that goes out, gives a wee bit of information to those that have signed up for these alerts in the newsletters, which is another area of the system. It's just to give you a bit more information of what's going on out there. We're trying to increase our communication, so you'll find if you're signing up for the Scottish Procurement Twitter account, you will get bits of information will come out to you and things will pop out. There are other improvements coming along the lines from the survey and things that we've listened to suppliers and we're trying to feed in. So a snippet of something that's happening, we're hoping to release something in September. It's just going through the final testing, where if you've used the postbox facility, which I'm sure some of you will have, you'll know there's not an ability at the moment to edit your response. You've got to take it all back off and put it all back on again. So hopefully September 29th, I think, is the date that we're hoping to have that released. That will give you the ability then to be able to edit the postbox response rather than starting from scratch again. So it might only be small changes, but it's things we're hoping we can put into the system to improve things. So really that's my plea. If you have thoughts and things to put them down in the survey when it comes out, and we will take those pieces of information away. Just in terms of the final bit of the slide, there is further help and assistance out there. So you've got the site itself. When you log into the site, you'll see there are various links on the homepage. These links take you to the Supplier Journey, which is really useful information that the Scottish Government website has provided to yourselves as suppliers to find out just a bit more about the public sector tendering processes, the do's and don'ts, that side of things. The other side of that is the Procurement Journey, which is the guidance and assistance that's provided to buyers. If you have the opportunity, it's always worth having a look at the Procurement Journey, because that will give you the perspective of a buyer and see what they're doing to put things out there. That's their sort of best practice guidance that they can follow. Also get events like Gillian's and STP's events, so we would always recommend getting in touch with them because they provide that free training and support to yourselves. Events like this, be linked to the website. As I say, final plea, the supplier survey is, please, if you get the chance, take 10-15 minutes to complete it with your thoughts. Anything that we can do to sort of improve the services. That's our key aim, is to make sure things are a bit simpler for suppliers. So there's also some work going on just now just about the single procurement document. So that I know colleagues are working on that just now. We're trying to look at what we can within the limits of legislation do to improve that experience for people. Appreciate the single procurement document asks some strange questions, and we're trying to look at what we can do to improve that process. So that's really me. So if you've got any questions, feel free to file into that side of the room and I'll just pop out.
Thank you very much for that, Barry. I was just going to say a few words about the Supplier Development Programme. I'm hoping that since you've all registered for the event today, you're all very aware of us. But we are a national unit that's here to support Scottish SMEs, third sector and social enterprises and how to tender. And we offer free support through our range of training, whether it be webinar, face-to-face or online. We have an online e-learning platform. Tomorrow we actually have a webinar that's running, which is all about quick quotes. So just what Barry was talking about, how do you understand, how do you fill in your Supplier Finder profile, and going through that and offering some top tips on that. So it's very important to understand that. I think one of the key things that the Supplier Development Programme has really been growing, and Fiona and Diane are on our board here, is about how we connect with the public sector. How we ensure when they are looking for local businesses to bid for their contract opportunities, we can help support those businesses to tender for those contract opportunities. So very much, as well as the training that we offer, keep an eye on our website because there's always other opportunities for you to connect and find out how to be bid for contract opportunities out there. So I'm running Meet the Buyer type events. So we do this event, which is Meet the Buyer North. We also have our main Meet the Buyer, which is going to be in 2023 in May at Edinburgh International Conference Centre. So we're going big. We had planned to run that before COVID struck. So we've had on hold this booking for 2 years, which will offer a huge range of public bodies, supply chain contractors and business support all under one roof. It's a free event for you to come along and meet with them, very much like today. We also work with the various partner councils and run local Meet the Buyer events. So in our calendar we have Fife, we have Edinburgh, we have the Lanarkshires, we have the Ayrshires. So keep an eye on that if you're wanting to connect locally with different business support and the business organisations and the councils and find out what opportunities are out there. So Jennifer's just put up a slide here, and here's some dates for our diary. Thank you, Jennifer, all organised. So as you can see, you'll have registered on our website to attend this event, so hopefully you'll be able to see our email alerts, you'll get our monthly newsletter, and tell you all the different projects we're working on. So when government is spending money on the big infrastructure projects, such as the city deals and growth deals, STB gets involved and hopefully gives you opportunities to then meet and find out how you can grow your business through public sector spending. So great opportunities there.